Welcome to Everything Casual, bringing you original football casual videos from the golden era of the 80s and 90s, right up to current day. Football away day stories and historic clashes between football firms. Subscribe so you don't miss out. We upload videos every week. The Chelsea FC and Spurs rivalry is a rivalry between London-based professional association football clubs, Chelsea and Tottenham. Chelsea play their home games at Stamford Bridge, while Tottenham play their home games at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. As of April 2025, 179 games have been played between the two teams, 81 of which were won by Chelsea and 55 by Spurs. Although both teams have played against each other since the early 20th century, the rivalry between Chelsea and Tottenham did not begin until the year 1967 in the FA Cup final, the first all-London FA Cup final, dubbed the Cockney Cup final, and the 1975 relegation clash, notorious for on-pitch invasion and fighting. Spurs won and Chelsea ended up relegated. Chelsea fans consider Tottenham to be one of their rivals alongside Arsenal, Fulham and Leeds United, while Tottenham fans consider their rivalry with Chelsea to be secondary to that with Arsenal. Many encounters between the two teams have been highly intense. Notable matches played between them include the Battle of the Bridge and the Battle of Parson's Green. The 2007 FA Cup quarter-final, post-match street fights with 10 people knifed, after a 3-3 draw replayed next day. A 2012 survey has shown that Chelsea fans consider Tottenham to be their main rival, above Arsenal and Manchester United. In the same survey, it is shown that Tottenham fans still consider Chelsea their second rival, below Arsenal. We could go on all day about the history of these two huge football clubs, but this video is about the Chelsea and Spurs football mobs. So, as usual in my videos, we will listen to the point of view from proper football lads, terrace legends from both sides. So here we go. Let's start with former Chelsea headhunter Jason Mariner. This is what the well-respected terrace top face had to say about Spurs. Very honest and all in his own words. I hate them with a passion. The team, the supporters, the area, the stadium, the lack of a tube station. I might be contradicting myself, but that doesn't mean I don't have some good pals who are Spurs fans. In fact, I have friends at most clubs, despite the fact that Chelsea is one of those clubs that everyone hates. One of Tottenham's main faces is Rob Campbell, who despite his dodgy Scottish surname, is a good mate of mine. To be fair, we have had some really good battles with them over the years. Their hatred for us and ours for them will never end. If you are caught up in the scene, no other team will compare to the hatred we feel for each other. Their firm detest us with a passion. To me that says, we are doing something right, whether it's on or off the field. One thing that annoys me about them is that they never admit getting done. I know I go on about the Battle of Parson's Green, when we done them, but this is my book, and I am telling the truth. They have always been the same, and I don't understand why. I don't mind admitting I was there at the Ifield Tavern, when they came round and smashed the place to smithereens. Sometimes, whether you like it or not, you have to give credit where it's due. It's part of being a grown-up mob. We will hear more from Jason Mariner later. For now, let's look more into one of the most violent clashes between two football mobs that England has ever seen. At least 10 people were stabbed as hardcore soccer violence erupted on the streets of West London. Drinkers fled as running battles broke out between about 40 thugs, carrying knives, baseball bats, wooden clubs embedded with nails and hockey sticks. The riot began last night outside the White Horse pub in Parson's Green, known as the Sloaney Pony, following a dramatic FA Cup clash between Chelsea and Spurs. Police believe it was either a pre-arranged fight organised over mobile phones and the internet, or Tottenham hooligans had ambushed Chelsea fans in their own backyard. One witness said, It was pandemonium. I've never seen scenes like it. It was a battlefield in the middle of Fulham's smartest area on a Sunday evening. I was on Parson's Green itself, having a quiet drink with friends. Nothing to do with the football. Suddenly, there was a lot of loud shouting and screaming, and we saw a huge mob fighting outside the Sloaney Pony, smashing each other with baseball bats and anything they could get their hands on. People were fleeing in all directions. It was chaos. I ran off down a street but could hear the rioting going on from half a mile away. About 5 minutes later, the police siren started and carried on all night. Dozens of officers, including vans of riot police on standby and a police helicopter, were scrambled to the scene. Police arrested 34 men, including 7 who were taken to hospital suffering from stab wounds and head injuries.
Who was the main boy of the firm at this time?
So Mark, there's a few different main fellas. Like, so you got a geezer called Mark Carpel, who's he's like probably one of the. You got Keithy Robbins, who's like old school, used to organise the buses. Sammy Skies was a black fella from near Harrow Roadside. He was one of the main old school. Then like you had Carpel. There's a few other different mobs. Obviously, I was talking about when I got put away. I got put away for the Brighton thing, and I got put away for Chelsea as well.
What happened with Chelsea getting put away?
Well, nothing. It's a bit of a non-event really, but it was what was gonna happen. Like fucking, I got nicked with a. Well, I got nicked afterwards, but I got nicked. The pub got surrounded. We was having a meet with Chelsea in Enfield, and fucking, I went shopping in B&Q. Fucking for a load of hatchets and axes and bought this gym bag full of axes, hatchets, medieval axes, knives, baseball bats.
Fucking hell,
this bag, yeah, fucking, and we plotted this bag off in this bush, and fucking, someone grasped it. I don't know who grasped it, but someone grasped it anyway. Fucking, old Bill flopped on the boozer, and then about 6 months later, they surrounded the pub. Nothing happened. They found the tools. 6 months later, bang, my door comes through. They fucking had like a parcel fingerprint on it or DNA on the bag or something. Yeah. Fucking, I got done for the tools anyway. They was trying to do me for conspiracy to commit GBH with intent.
Shit.
They done me. I ended up getting convicted in a trial. I got done for conspiracy to commit violent disorder. And they was going around. There was all the tools there, and I forgot how many tools in this bag.
How many were there?
There's just loads and shitloads in a big gym bag full of weapons. Anyway, yeah, fucking. I was thinking the night before. I was thinking, mate, I was gonna cut one of them so badly. Like I had these two axes, and I was like, I claimed them as mine. Yeah, I was gonna come outside the boozer with the two axes running down the road, fucking after them, like. And yeah, I was hoping to fucking get busy that day, but it never happened. Probably a good thing because I reckon someone would have been on an M charge. Because that was people were like, I was in the mode. I was in the mode that day. A few others were in the mode that day.
Back over to Chelsea. Let's listen to a former top lad with the Headhunters and hear his take on Spurs and his battles against the Yid Army, this legend known as Bully, and these are all his own words. My recollections of clashes with Spurs are that I have never been done by them. It's as simple as that. I am not saying that they haven't got a good firm because they have. We played Spurs a few seasons ago, back in a night game at the Bridge, and I will be totally honest, Spurs took the piss that night. For the previous seasons their mob had failed to show. Personally, I think it was after they got smashed by our lot at the Argyle pub in central London. A black day in the history of the Yid Army. At this particular game, we played them at Stamford Bridge. They came over early doors and drank in a pub, which was quickly surrounded by Old Bill, and no one was allowed within 100 yards of the pub. The Spurs mob claim that they had a result because they were drinking in a pub in King's Road. Surely a result is when you have a fight with a rival firm and smash them or run them. Knowing that you are drinking in a comfort zone with lines of Old Bill covering your arse and protecting you from attack. That's a result, is it? In the night game at our place, as I said, they did do well. Our organisation that night went to pot. We had 3 or 4 small mobs of 40 to 50 split in different locations. Spurs came early, they were well organised and took us by surprise. This time they came to fight, and fight they did, and they did well before and after the game. They had a 300 strong mob standing on the main forecourt after the game, and looked impressive. We just couldn't get our act together. Our firm at this time was getting lazy and complacent. We thought we could take anyone on, sometimes just 20-handed, and have a result. We had done it against so many mobs and got away with it. Fighting at football at times is like playing poker. It's all about front and bluff, and our firm have plenty of that. In addition, it does help to have some serious madmen and some game lads, and we have both. We have pulled some big firms together, yet there have been other times when we have gone somewhere 20-handed. I heard that Spurs had a big mob that met on the Tattershall Castle boat, which is moored on the Thames. They also had a mob that got off at Wandsworth Bridge. They planned it perfectly. To me, I didn't think that the Yids had their top firm out that night, but on the day, they were too good for us. We clashed with them just before the game on the bridge down the King's Road. Spurs had been drinking in Riley's bar near the World's End. Loads of us had the hump about that day and morale was low. But we didn't have to wait long before we played Spurs again. But this time it was over at their place. 2 days before the game, a couple of us went over to Tottenham and had a scout about. We had a look at a couple of pubs and settled on one as a good place to meet. We met in a pub in Bethnal Green at 7:30 in the morning, and the other meet was in South London, where 2 52-seater coaches had been booked to ferry the other part of our firm across London to Ponders End Station, where they would leave the coaches and come into Tottenham by train from a direction the old Bill and Spurs wouldn't suspect. In the end, 3 coaches went straight to the pub, where on their arrival there was already a good 200-strong Chelsea firm. By midday the place was packed with about 350 to 400 serious Chelsea faces. There was people there that I hadn't seen in years. This was more like it. The old Bill had obviously done their homework and was outside the pub in huge numbers. The Yids was nowhere to be seen, and we had not heard a peep from them. As we left the pub under a huge escort, a mob of Spurs came out of the flats from a run-down council estate, and we just stormed across the road and ran them. A couple of theirs were knocked down in the rush, but were rescued by the old Bill before they got seriously hurt. As the old Bill moved us slowly towards the ground, a mob of Spurs came in front of us and spread themselves out across the road. We just kept walking towards them, with the old Bill holding us back. They back-pedalled all the way to Park Lane. It was all their main boys, but we would have been too much for them. And they knew it. The old Bill was standing close to me, and suddenly I heard one of their radios burst into life. It blurted out that weed, coke, meat cleavers, flick knives, hammers, axes, ammonia and CS gas canisters had all been found in the pub. It was now 3:00, and the boys started to get a bit restless. Further up the road, a large mob of Spurs was making themselves busy, so we decided to walk towards them. Now, the 2 firms were only 50 yards apart. We pushed forward through the old Bill, and the majority of the Spurs firm backed off into Tottenham High Road. More police on horseback arrived and forced us back. We were going nowhere. The police split us into 3 different groups, and one by one, they pulled us out and handcuffed us, with those plastic ties they use when they've run out of metal handcuffs. I do rate Spurs, but they cannot for some reason give credit where credit is due. As a firm, I would put them in my top 6. My run-ins with Spurs go back a long way.
Where I got caught, where they found DNA with a bag full of axes and hatchets and knives and baseball bats, and they basically said that we was planning to seriously hurt this Chelsea mob. Yeah, it was. Yeah, yeah. I was like, they was up the road, and an incident had occurred years before, where a few people have been stabbed, obviously a row's occurred, and a few people have been stabbed at this row, and no one, Tottenham never got run on nothing, but this was it was like a few boys got stabbed because they had turned up with all the cutlery. So they'd come up the road with all the cutlery. Tottenham had stood their ground. A few people had got stabbed. And my feeling behind it was that, all right, sweet, I don't think we got done there, but a couple of my mates have been stabbed and they ain't been stabbed up. So even though at the end of the row, it was at Parson screen, at the end of the row, it was one of their geezers that was lying on the floor, unconscious, pool of blood, screaming. And but I was like, even so, they like no like I feel like retribution needs to be served. You know what I mean? They need to start, something needs to happen back, because at the end of the day, it's an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Like if they do that, then you've got to react back to it in the same manner. Do you know what I mean? Like, and yeah, so they said they was coming over. Obviously, everyone met up. They met up in a boozer up the road, but they were supposed to come to a certain area, but they went to a different area about 2 miles up the road, and we've all met. And then I remember just looking around, and I was thinking that that day I remember thinking, yeah, this someone's gonna get properly done today. And I wasn't in the mood for playing about that day. Like which I kind of like, back in hindsight, when I look back at it now, I feel like thank God that it never happened.
You were willing to kill someone that day?
Yeah, I was gonna get put away that day. If I got nicked, I would have got put away for a long time. Do you know what I mean?
You just something. I'll tell you something. I used to fucking despise that name. Yeah, long time ago, well, it really gave me the ump. It's one of them things, Dan, West Ham, Chelsea used to go, Yids, you fucking dirty Yids and all that, and used to take that, I used to find it quite offensive, you know?
Yeah. And, that's what I thought, that's how I booked it, you know what I mean?
But what it was, whereas other firms had like a proper defined name, like fucking, Headhunters, ICF, whatever, we sort of like adopted the Yids. I mean, all the barmaids used to fucking do it in the ground, Yids and all that carry on. And as the firm, progressed, and over the last 10 years, it's got stronger and closer. We have got I ain't just being biased. We've had the naughtiest firm in the country over the last 10 years. No.
Who would it be?
Not this Chelsea.
Chelsea, yeah?
Without a fucking doubt, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And in a way, you know what I mean? I do respect their firm, because we've had wars with them for 10 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fucking hate Chelsea, everyone knows that, But I respect them because we've had wars with them for the last 10 years, you know what I mean? They're the only people that have really come to us, you know what I mean? And sort of like, well, we've gone to them all the time, but anyone who's given us any competition.
The rivalry between the Spurs and Chelsea firms became headline news when they clashed outside the Ifield Tavern near Stamford Bridge. 200 of Tottenham's firm gathered at nearby pubs, then left at a given time and marched onto Ifield Road.
And Chelsea were at the bottom of the road. It was just something you fucking dream about, really, do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Something I dream about, you know what I mean? Not everyone else does, Give them their due, they stood their ground. But the boozer got annihilated. Yeah, there was a lot of claret about it. There was a lot of...
Taking the time to watch this video. If you subscribe, you will be notified when we release a new video. It could be your firm we make a video about next, so don't miss out and hit the subscribe button. You can find me on Facebook or email me if you have a good story to tell. See you next time.